When Gregor Samsa opened his eyes that morning, the first thing he noticed was that, while lying on his back, his quilt seemed unusually difficult to move. Then he realized that his body had changed form. He was now a frightening, unfamiliar insect, far removed from anything he had known before. His initial emotion in face of this horrifying reality was not panic or fear, but rather a strange and disturbing unease. Gregor, finding himself in this absurd situation, thought at first that what he was experiencing was merely a bad dream. However, with each passing second, as more details of his new body, its hard shell, numerous legs, and massive belly became clearer, he had to accept the unavoidable reality of his transformation. Ironically, even though he had become an insect, his greatest concern was still whether he was late for work and how this would affect his financial responsibilities to his family. These thoughts proved that his struggle to remain human continued beyond his physical form, in the realm of his mind and emotions. Deeply shaken by these first moments, Gregor found himself in the middle of an internal conflict. While struggling to understand this new, unacceptable form of his own existence, he was, perhaps without realizing it, grappling with essential questions about the human condition, the meaning of existence, and personal identity. As he wrestled with the complexity and burden of his new form, his eyes fell on familiar objects around the room. The simple furniture in his bedroom, once part of his dull but comfortable life, now seemed unreachable and foreign to him. In one corner, there was an old suitcase filled with clothes from his days as a sales representative. As Gregor looked at that suitcase, he thought of the time when he wore those clothes and was human. But now, he could not even imagine wearing them. They were far too big and useless for him in his new form. In another corner of the room stood a gramophone that he had once proudly acquired. It reminded him of his passion for music. But now, that passion felt meaningless. In his insect form, he believed the melodies would no longer reach him as they once did, and this thought filled him with deep sorrow. His eyes then caught an old family photograph hanging on the wall. It was a picture taken outside during happier, more carefree times, serving as a monument to those moments with his family. As Gregor looked at this photo, he wondered how his family would feel about their current situation. Their love and support would now be tested by this terrible transformation. Gregor's failure to leave for work soon began to worry his family. They went to his room to find out what was wrong, but the door was locked and they could not enter. Eventually, Gregor managed to open the door. His family, waiting anxiously, was horrified to see that he had transformed into an insect. His mother fainted, and his father recoiled in shock and fear. They were unsure how to react to Gregor's new condition. Days passed slowly for the Samsa family as they struggled to come to terms with the shock of Gregor's transformation. The father, for the first time in years, was forced into the stressful search for work because Gregor, the family's breadwinner, could no longer contribute to their income. The mother busied herself with household chores, her hands trembling with anxiety and sorrow, as if the busy work could momentarily distract her from the harsh reality of what had happened to Gregor. Grete was assigned the task of caring for her brother. In the early days, she was the only one who left food in his room and checked whether Gregor had emerged from his hiding spot. The expression on Grete's face reflected the complex emotions she experienced while undertaking this duty: anxiety, curiosity, and, perhaps deep down, a hint of fear. One day, when Gret prepared a plate with Gregor's favorite foods and opened his door, she paused for a moment. Despite his new form, the room still carried her brother's scent. This brought her both sorrow and courage. When Grete brought food to Gregor's room, she noticed that he no longer showed any interest in human food. The milk, once Gregor's favorite, remained untouched. This observation deeply affected Grete. Her effort to find food suitable for her brother's new condition was a sign that she was trying to adapt to his changing needs. As the father went off to work, the mother immersed herself in household chores, and Gret cared for her brother. The Samsa family sought ways to stand together and support each other in the face of this unexpected transformation. While each tried to be a pillar for the others during this difficult time, Gregor's metamorphosis led to a reshaping of relationships and dynamics within the family. Over time, Gregor found himself completely isolated from family life, becoming a silent observer. He spent his days curled up in the corner of his bed, listening to the sounds seeping through the crack under the door. Through this quiet observation, he gained a new perspective on his family's daily life. One day, Gregor heard a soft melody rising from Grete's room. The music was his only remaining connection to the outside world. That melody brought solace to Gregor's soul, trapped within the four walls of his room. One evening, Gregor overheard his family having a worried discussion about their financial situation. This conversation stirred a feeling of guilt within him, as he had once been the family's financial provider. Now, he could only witness their struggle to cope with these hardships from a distant observer's perspective. In the weeks following Gregor's transformation, the Samsa family decided to rent out part of their home to ease their financial difficulties. One evening, 3 tenants arrived at the Samsa house with their suitcases. This development turned Gregor's existence into a secret that had to be kept hidden. From that point on, only Grete entered and left Gregor's room. The rest of the family neglected his room, which became a forgotten and disregarded space. The presence of the tenants further complicated the family dynamics. While the mother and father made extra efforts to leave a good impression on the new residents of the house, Grete tried to keep up with both her schoolwork and the increasing responsibilities at home. Gregor silently observed from behind closed doors how his family adapted to this new arrangement. One evening, Grete decided to play the violin for the tenants to provide them with a pleasant evening. Hearing the music, Gregor deeply felt his longing for his sister and the bond with his family. The melodies of the violin carried him beyond the confines of his room, taking him back to memories of happier days. But this emotional moment suddenly took a turn. Under the influence of the music, Gregor impulsively threw himself out of the room, and his unexpected appearance sparked chaos among the tenants. This incident marked a turning point for the family. The shock and anger of the tenants shattered the already fragile unity of the Samsa family. Gregor's reckless behavior became the last straw for Grete's patience. Her love and compassion for her brother had been exhausted by the hardships they faced. The family was forced to confront the harsh reality that Gregor's existence had become an unbearable burden for them. Grete told her family that Gregor had to go, and only then could they become a family again. Over time, the alienation that began with Gregor's transformation increasingly distanced him from life. His growing loneliness and the changing expressions in his family's eyes created an emptiness within him. One night, lost in this void, he quietly passed away. His frail body could no longer bear the burden of prolonged struggles and internal conflicts. Gregor was found peacefully lying in his bed one morning, as if freed from all his pain and loneliness. Gregor's absence strangely brought a sense of peace to the Samsa family. The family decided to move out of the city to a place where they could start anew together without Gregor. During a break in their journey, they gathered in a sunlit park and felt a deep connection to one another, along with hope for stepping into a brighter future together. This moment was not only a relief for them, but also an opportunity to appreciate each other and embrace the new beginnings that life could offer. Though Gregor's story remained a painful chapter for the family, his life and death laid the foundation of a deep love and understanding that held them together and guided them as they moved toward the future. Their rebirth was the final gift Gregor left them. Together, they moved beyond mourning and acceptance toward hope.